haven't done this for a few years now, so I thought I'd give a quick look at everything I'm growing this year. Plenty of tomatoes, got a bumper crop this year. I like to grow all sorts of different varieties. Got larger ones that I like to slice up, put into stir fries or sandwiches or whatever, big ones like that. I've got these smaller round ones, which are nice to just pick up as I go in the kitchen and eat as I go along. And then my favourite ones are these more elongated ones. They're small, but they're more of a longer size. I have no idea what the different varieties are called, but you can see they're just like mixed all over the place. There's some, I've got a bit of glass broke out of the top of the greenhouse there, and every year now the tomato plant just kind of grows out there, and so it's sort of hanging out the side too. You can see I've got that, they're the sort of three main varieties that I grow. I've also got the cucumber plant. I had 3 cucumbers off of that this year. Only one of my cucumber plants survived. I've actually got 2 in here, but one didn't really come to anything. I don't think there's anything. Oh, actually, there might be something growing on the bottom here. I've got a very tiny little cucumber growing on that one. I don't know if that's going to really be any good. But I had 3 cucumbers off of the main plant, and then the other cucumber plant I was growing died. We've got some peppers growing there. Got 2 pepper plants growing in these pots on the side. Oh, actually, sorry, 3. I've got 2 pepper plants in this pot, and then 1 in the other. I've got quite a few peppers coming on these as well. And then in those pots down there, I've got mixed salad leaves too, which I like to pick at. You can probably hear it's raining at the minute. Various collection of skulls that I've found when I've been out cycling and camping. And then if we go outside, I've got my raspberry canes, which didn't grow very big this year, and I think it's because last year, after they stopped fruiting, I kind of tend to forget about my raspberry plants, and I don't really tend to them or water them, but we had a really hot dry summer last year, so while the new stalks were growing that would have this year's fruit on, I just didn't water them enough, so they didn't grow very big this year or bushy compared to how they normally do. However, I had a bumper crop of raspberries. It didn't actually seem to affect how many raspberries I got at all, on the canes not being as tall and big as they usually are. See where the tomato plant has come out of the hole in the glass there and grown all the way down there. And I've got some more here. I've got so many tomato plants growing this year. I've got quite a few outside here, as well as all the ones in the greenhouse. For some reason my beans didn't come to anything this year either. They all kind of shriveled up and just didn't grow very well. I think the seeds were probably too old. Probably have to buy some more. I think they were seeds I'd had for a few years, that might be why. So that was a bit disappointing. So yeah, with the beans and the cucumbers haven't been great this year. But I do have this bumper crop of tomatoes, and the raspberries were great. Might as well mention the chives while I'm here as well. There's my apple tree. I'm not going to get any closer because I've got a pigeon there and I don't want to scare him. He's actually been living in the garden for about a year now. I rescued him from a cat that attacked him. He had a broken wing. He's never going to fly again. The wing's kind of twisted. But he lives in the garden now. He likes to perch up on that pot there. I guess that's about as high as he can get off the ground now. And he also likes to sit in the well there when it's raining. Normally he'll come over here and get in that well and sit there because there's a roof that covers him, so that's kind of his little home in there as well. But at the minute he's still sitting up by the apple tree there. I feed him, I give him some seeds every day. But last year I had massive apples on that tree. I thinned it out so there's only about 10 apples on there, and they grew absolutely massive, but 10 isn't really enough. I'm terrible at thinning apple trees. I always feel bad. It just kind of goes against my instinct to take so much fruit off, but you really have to, otherwise they don't get big enough and they don't taste as nice. But this year I've left about 20 apples on there, and they're getting to a pretty decent size already, and I'm not going to harvest them till late September probably, even into October sometimes I leave them, so I'm hoping they'll get even bigger, but 20 should be a good amount while still thinning it out enough that they do get to a decent size. There's just a bit of a closer look at the apples and the pigeon. I say I don't want to get too close because I don't want to stress him out. Oh, and I had quite a few potatoes as well that I'd grown in buckets, so I always sort of forget to show them really. But yeah, I did get quite a few potatoes too. I mean, it's not enough that would sustain me full time, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to grow and produce enough food to sustain myself without having to really go shopping for fruit and veg. But it's nigh on impossible in a garden this size, really. I probably should look into doing more winter vegetables. Just gives me a bit of a sense of freedom and self-sufficiency. Like I say, I know it's not enough remotely to feed me all year round, but it makes me feel a bit more free from the rampant globalisation of the food industry now, where they're shutting down local produce and farms left, right and centre to build housing estates while we have to import all our food from the big mega-rich corporations. Kind of sad that it's going that way, and this is just my little tiny way of rebelling against that, I guess. I've tried growing sprouts before, but they didn't really come to anything. They didn't grow that big. I'm not quite sure what I did wrong with them. That would be a nice thing to grow. I wouldn't mind growing mushrooms as well, because I eat a lot of mushrooms. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you again soon.